Well, the holiday time has come. Shep, what's on your wish list?
1 week on a beach in Rio.
Well, I want Keira Knightley's phone number, and I don't think either of those are going to happen. Extra Time is next. Hey everybody, season's greetings to you. Welcome to Extra Time. I'm your host Greg Lawless alongside Shep Messing. This week, it's the third part in our series breaking down all the MLS teams in the offseason. We go to the Western Conference. A little later on, we'll answer a question about expansion. Shep, we're going to start with the lowest team in the Western Conference, a team that doesn't even have a record, the San Jose Earthquakes. It's a new expansion team. They have a lot of work to do. What are your thoughts just off the bat?
Well, off the bat, I think John Doyle and Frankie Yallop did an exceptional job in terms of the expansion draft. They really got players at the right price, salary-wise. I think role players, and if you look at the players they took in the draft, probably 6 or 7 or 8 could be starting players in MLS.
Right, but you don't want them all starting together at the same time.
No, not together.
Right,
not
so
together.
you have some good players out there. Ryan Cochran, obviously, in the back there. James Riley in the back as well. Jason Hernandez and Ivan Guerrero on the flanks can certainly do a lot of things. Where do you think they really need to start, though?
Well, I like Goodson also, but I think what Frankie Yallop is now going to do is say, okay, I've got these role players, but I have international players that I have to go out and find. We always talk about it, the spine of the team. Maybe they don't need a central defender. I certainly think they need an attacking playmaker. I think they need a big-time striker. I think they need a goalkeeper. Burpo, not quite a number one goalkeeper, so a lot of work to do.
Right, well, the goalkeeper, of course, you can probably find some in the United States. For that striker, though, for me, that's where they need to bring in a big name. Maybe use a DP slot, or just go and get somebody big. Names that I keep thinking about. Martin Palermo, the guy down in Boca, he's 34 years old. He's done everything he can do at Boca Juniors. Bring him up. There's a big Latino population in San Jose. He'd obviously get a lot of publicity there. Or you maybe bring an Asian player in, a big Japanese player, because of the large Japanese population there.
Well, I think those are all good ideas. You know John Doyle and Frankie Yallop. Why don't you pick up the phone and call them? But the other train of thought is, let's really build our team and make the designated player, the big star, the final piece. So I don't know that they're going to do it this year. They do need a big-time striker. They have good role players, but, work in progress, they're a work in progress.
A lot of work to do in San Jose. They start playing next year in 2008. Real Salt Lake came in last place in the Western Conference. They had a lot of problems all through the season. They had a new coach, Jason Kreis, who was brought in. Shep, tough for them.
Well, it was a nightmare, but I'll give Jason Kreis credit because his job was to change the culture, change the attitude. He got them playing competitively. That's the best he could have done last year.
And they picked up some important players that helped them at the end. And now we are joined by Jason Kreis, the head coach for Real Salt Lake. So Jason, thanks and welcome to the show. And first question we're going to start off with is, you had a tough season in 2007, your first year, you came in midway through. What are the positives that you're going to take out of last season?
I think the positives have to be that we ended up acquiring some very good young talent. We ended up, I think, at the end of the year being very competitive in every match we played. So there's a couple of positives to draw from. The biggest positive for me looking forward is that I'm going to have an entire preseason to work with this new group and get them ready for the season.
Well, you had some great success bringing up some South American players. Do you have any other players identified? Are you looking more for an American or more for foreigners?
We're looking in all parts of the world.
Yeah.
We spent the last 2 months really doing an amazing amount of scouting, and we think that we are right on the verge of getting some of the fruits of our labor. We think there are some signings right around the corner. And obviously, we're well positioned for the draft coming up.
Jason, as a player, you were always one who led by example. Now you're a coach. Who do you look at on your team to be one of the leaders? Is it a Kyle Beckerman? He has the talent, but does he have that personality?
I think he does. I mean, he's going to be another leader that's probably going to lead most by example. He's a guy that comes in every day and works extremely hard, and the rest of the group, I think, has to look to him and say there's no reason why I can't do the same. We have players like Nick Raimondo and Terry Talley who will be leaning on with probably a little more experience and a little more age than Kyle Beckerman. Those guys will be expected to be leaders for us as well.
Well, Jason, you obviously have some holes to fill, a lot of work in this offseason, but good luck in 2008.
Thank you very much. We'll need it.
Well, on paper, FC Dallas had a really good team in 2007. To me, I think they were one of those teams that underperformed. They didn't get as far as they should have. They lost to Houston in the playoffs. They just didn't do what they should have done. Now, looking into 2008, they have some holes they need to fill.
Yeah, one hole is not the hole left by Danielson, because we talk about last year. I think that really made them upside down. You bring in a player like Danielson, bad temperament, he's your big player. They lost all their chemistry. So in terms of holes, where do we want to start? I mean, let's start at the back.
Right, let's start with the goalkeeper. Now, they have a couple of goalkeepers. They re-signed Dario Sala and Ray Burst Jr., the young guy who came in at the end and started to do very well. I know you're a fan of Burst Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ray Burst Jr. has the goods. I've seen him play enough to think that he now, if he's not battling for, should be the number one. If he is the number one, you really don't need an expensive international player on the bench.
Well, that's probably true. That would give them some money if they got rid of Sala. And some of that money, I think they need to use it for a center back, because they lost Clarence Goodson. I'm not sure that Adrian Sariu and Drew Moore are really the center backs you need in this league. They're not, to me, those strong, dominating center backs.
Well, you know that position, Greg, and I don't like a player that's a tweener. And for me, Sirio is better suited as a Shallery Joseph type defensive midfielder. Right. So I agree, they need to shore up the defense.
Well, in the midfield, of course, they actually are very good. It's a question of formation. If you look at them, they have Pablo Ricchetti, Dax McCarty, Juan Toja, who was a revelation in 2007, and Arturo Alvarez, who had somewhat of a breakout year and could be very, very good.
Yeah, I think they're a great midfield, but you're right, it's all about formation. Who in that midfield trio that you just mentioned, who is the central guy that's really feeding the guys up top?
Right, because they have Alvarez can go out on the right or the left, either side, but they need someone else who can serve the ball in. Now, up top, there are some question marks up top, because if Carlos Ruiz is dealt, as everybody expects him to be dealt, then you have a question of who's going to be their proven scorer. Can Kenny Cooper get back to his 2006 form?
I think Kenny Cooper is a prolific goal scorer. The question is, he's always getting hurt. So they need him to be healthy. If he's healthy, he's a big, strong target player. They need somebody who can play next to him.
Yeah, and they have these young guys. I mean, do you think any of these young guys, Roberto Mina or Abe Thompson, do you think any of them can step in to be that second forward for them?
First of all, you got to show me his birth certificate for me to believe Roberto Mina is a young player. But no, I think you have to go out and get somebody else.
Right, well, Dallas is certainly one of the underperforming teams of 2007. They just can't seem to get over that hump and make it to MLS Cup final. But Steve Morrow has a good core group in there. Now it's a question of whether they can gel enough and have the fortitude to make it through. Well, every week we get plenty of emails, and most of them are critical of us, but that's fine. We also get some questions, and this week, Yves up in Montreal asked us a question about another team coming to Canada. I would imagine he'd be curious whether they're coming to Montreal. Well, we can tell you this. The expansion in MLS right now, the two front runners are Philly and St. Louis. There's certainly some interest in going back to Canada.
Yeah, personally, I'd love to go to Montreal, but what I'm hearing is the big two are St. Louis and Philadelphia. I'm hearing that Philadelphia is almost at the final hurdle. I think it's exciting overall, and I think a Philadelphia franchise really would add to that Eastern Seaboard balance for the league.
Yeah, we'd certainly get another team along that Eastern Seaboard, make another rivalry, and obviously Philadelphia fans have a reputation for being very vociferous about their teams. Now, there's also a chance maybe Miami has started to get a little bit of momentum, but Yves, up in Montreal, there's always a good chance, or Vancouver, certainly with the success of Toronto and all their fans, and that team just having such great passion in it, you want to think that you're going back to Canada. Now, if anybody has any questions or comments, or keep those criticisms coming, you can email us here at extratime@mlsnet.com. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Happy holidays to everyone from me and from Shep, and we'll be here next week in 2008 to kick it around.